Coming off the major success that was Fire Emblem Awakening and the near death of the series, Intelligent Systems decided to come out guns a-blazing for the next installment in the franchise, Fire Emblem Fates. We weren't just getting one Fire Emblem game, or two Fire Emblem games, but three unique strategy RPGs that all branch off of the same storyline. And these aren't just small bite-sized games as if they were some DLC cash-in. They are fully developed experiences with enough content to act as their own standalone adventures. I am of course talking about Fire Emblem Fates, Birthright, Conquest, and Revelation. In this particular review, I'm just going to be covering Birthright and Conquest, because those are the only ones I've had the chance to play so far. I do have access to Revelation, it's just that I haven't set aside time to jump into it yet because I wanted to make sure I beat Birthright and Conquest first, and they can take a good chunk of time to play through. A separate review for Revelation will come later, which makes sense since the game doesn't actually release on the eShop until March. But with all that out of the way, did Intelligent Systems create another winner like Awakening? Well, put simply, if you adored Awakening, you are going to have a field day with Fates. The story follows the character Corrin from the kingdom of Oshido, who at a young age was kidnapped by the rival kingdom of Nor. Growing up as one of Nor's own, Corrin has no idea that his real family is from Hoshido, until one fateful day he is confronted with the truth of his situation. After the poop hits the fan, Corrin must make the decision to either side with his birth family to take down the corrupted king of Nor in Birthright, or stay with his adopted family in Nor and change the misguided kingdom from within in Conquest. The storylines of both games are rather interesting, full of betrayals, death, mystery, and good old family drama. They both do a great job of getting you to care for the characters, because Corrin is in the middle of a tug-of-war of what is essentially two of his families. They all feel for him, so you can really sense the stress of the situation. Nevertheless, both storylines are well crafted, and while there are some parallel events between both games, it's still interesting to see both sides of the conflict and how the outcomes change depending on the side you choose. Plus, you'll get unique nuggets of information concerning characters or other story elements in each game that further fleshes out the universe. Gameplay-wise, if you played Awakening, you're going to feel right at home with Birthright and Conquest, because not a whole lot has changed with its formula. Sure, there are some tweaks here and there, such as weapons no longer having a limit on how many times they can be used, but in the grand scheme of things, they are very similar to Awakening. That is in no way a bad thing though, since there isn't much reason to fix something that isn't broken. The strategic turn-based battles are a total blast. It felt like I was walking on nails in each and every mission, with fantastic AI that constantly has you checking for holes in your defenses. The battles are fast-paced, seeing your units engage in combat is enjoyable to watch with their flashy animations, and watching your teammates grow is phenomenal. I've never felt so attached to characters in a turn-based strategy game as I do to the ones in the Fire Emblem series. Now, it's not like there isn't anything new in these games, because there certainly is, such as new unit types, weapons that can be upgraded Dark Souls style, and being able to build your own castle that acts as your central hub to prepare for missions. The castle feature, while not groundbreaking, is nice, since it brings all the relationship building, gear purchasing, and other pre-mission stuffy stuff into one tight-knit area. Plus, you even get to ward off castle invaders for extra experience, and who doesn't love some extra XP? Now, Birthright plays it safe and is more newcomer friendly, offering plenty of ways to accumulate gold and experience points for your units. Mission objectives are also kept relatively simple for Birthright, usually making you just eliminate the boss or eliminate all units. While these choices do overall make the game more user-friendly, that in no way means the game is a cakewalk. Even while playing on the easiest difficulty, I definitely still felt the challenge and tension of trying to keep all my units alive on the battlefield. And FYI, playing with permadeath on makes the experience 100 times better. Trust me, you will bond with the characters that much more, and when they finally take a spear to the chest, a little part of you will die inside. It's a beautiful thing. Conquest, on the other hand, makes the ordeal a bit more interesting, with money and experience points harder to come by. Plus, the mission objectives are more creative and strenuous, with you defending locations or even fulfilling tasks within a certain amount of turns. The number and strength of enemies on each map seem to be ramped up a bit too, but overall it's definitely more demanding and challenging than Birthright, and I loved it. I did notice that while some maps were unique to their respective game, some were copy and pasted over. That's not to say they were identical, since the enemy layouts were different, but after playing through them once in one version, it's kind of a letdown when you face off in the same area in the other version. Nevertheless, the map designs are utterly fantastic, whether you're fighting on top of tiny boats that are placed haphazardly around a pond in an opera house, or duking it out inside the carcass of a dead dragon. Plus, a slew of them offer exclusive features to change the dynamics of the battlefield, whether that be to your benefit or your demise. So they all feel unique in their own special ways. Interestingly enough, from what I gather from my playtime, it seemed like Conquest ultimately had the better maps, with the mission objectives being more interesting and the maps being overall more dynamic. Visually, for a 3DS game, Fire Emblem Fates, Birthright, and Conquest look quite splendid. Sure, the textures for the terrain can look pretty darn muddy at times, but the finer details on the in-game character models have been improved since Awakening. Plus, when you flip that 3D switch on, the map artwork does seem to pop more, and honestly, it makes the textures look even better for some reason. The way the camera quickly zooms in on the battlefield when units engage in combat rather than fading away is a really neat touch that makes the maps feel not so much like a small chessboard, but an actual part of a living, breathing world. But no doubt the highlights during both Conquest and Birthright were the cinematic cutscenes, which look absolutely scrumptious. Man, oh man, how I wish every cutscene in both games were like this, because they are insanely detailed and I didn't want to peel my eyes away from them. When you have to watch the in-game models talk, it feels like watered-down versions of those flashy cutscenes. Nevertheless, the silver lining is that sprinkling the fancy cinematics throughout the games rather than shoving them down our throats keeps them from becoming ordinary, which is important. On the other side of Fate's presentation, the music is phenomenal. While I'm not a hardcore music aficionado, I didn't encounter one bad tune in these games. Whether the tone of events gets serious, melancholy, or lighthearted, the soundtrack follows suit with its fantastic Eastern vibe that meshes beautifully with the game's setting. And while there isn't a whole lot of spoken dialogue throughout, the voice actors also do a satisfying enough job portraying the cast of dozens of characters. Overall, Fire Emblem Fates, Birthright, and Conquest are both fantastic games, and I wholeheartedly recommend both of them, especially since you can buy one and then download the other for only $20. Both are fully fleshed out games that offer loads of content to keep you busy for a good 40 plus hours. And even though some story elements will feel similar between both versions, they are both packed with delightful characters and heartfelt scenarios, giving you a great reason to participate in the exciting, tension-filled, fast-paced, and delicious turn-based combat that the games offer. If I only had the option of picking one or the other when it comes to Birthright and Conquest, I would probably pick Conquest because I crave that extra challenge, and the maps are a bit more interesting. But this isn't like picking between Pokemon Red or Blue, so ideally getting both games is the way to go, because doubling your playtime is a pretty nice incentive. So with all that in mind guys, I found both Fire Emblem Fates Birthright and Fire Emblem Fates Conquest to be amazing games. And that will bring us to the end of this review, and if you liked what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up, add it to your favorites, and all that good stuff. And you can stay tuned for more videos in the future. But I will talk to you later in the next video, guys. Bye!